Ever wonder what it actually takes to build an elite mind from scratch? And no, I'm not talking about winning the genetic lottery or being born into massive wealth. I'm talking about the very deliberate and honestly pretty uncomfortable process of rewiring your own brain through daily habits. Today, we're skipping the traditional roadmap and jumping straight into this explainer on the fascinating and frankly surprising reality of what happens when you drastically upgrade your cognitive abilities. Because as it turns out, upgrading your brain comes with a really fascinating hidden cost. We all tend to have this picture in our heads, right? That highly intelligent or incredibly successful people are just endlessly confident, basically sleepwalking through life with total ease. But psychological research totally shatters that myth. As it turns out, intelligence rarely looks like pure confidence. In reality, it often looks a lot more like quiet, misunderstood struggle. And this idea is going to set the foundation for everything we unpack today, because the path to an elite mind is absolutely a double-edged sword.
Okay, let's dive right into exactly how this rewiring begins. Think about the stark difference between low-level and high-level thinking. Low-level thinking is just soaked in emotion. It's those immediate knee-jerk reactions like, oh, this is terrible, I hate this. That kind of language keeps your brain completely locked in a reactive survival mode. But on the flip side, high-level thinking relies on neutral language. It's more like, well, this is inconvenient. So what can I adjust? It relies on taking a deliberate pause before reacting. By simply dialing back the emotional language and delaying your reaction, even just for a couple of seconds, you literally force your brain out of survival mode and into reasoning mode. You are overriding your own impulses.
What's really wild is how these habits scale up. Whether you're actively trying to boost your IQ or build wealth from absolute zero, the psychological blueprint is practically identical. You aren't winning some genetic or financial lottery here. You are forging a brand new brain through specific, uncomfortable daily grinds. You're delaying reward, choosing long-term freedom over a quick fix of comfort. You're embracing uncertainty by taking action way before you have all the answers. You're using total silence to force deep reflection. And, you're reading difficult, dense material that actually forces your brain to stretch. These are the literal habits of high performers.
And all of those habits, they fundamentally alter your identity. Think about a poor identity. It's kind of paralyzed by current circumstances, always demanding total certainty before making a move, and constantly repeating, people like me just don't succeed. Now contrast that with a wealth identity. People who successfully build themselves up from nothing mentally rewrite their identity long before their physical reality actually catches up. Their environment might look exactly the same today, but their mind is already living 5 years in the future. They intensely focus on building valuable skills. They weigh long-term consequences instead of short-term feelings, and they build a massive, massive tolerance for the unknown. So the biological mechanism running behind the scenes of all this change is called neuroplasticity. That's your brain's physical ability to form brand new neural connections. But here is the absolutely critical part. It only happens through focused struggle. When you sit down to learn a really difficult skill, when you mess up, when you feel that intense mental friction and frustration, that is not a sign that you're failing. Psychology actually shows us that this feeling of confusion is the literal sensation of your brain's architecture upgrading and rewiring itself in real time. But here is the massive catch. This is the ultimate paradox of success. The exact same habits that upgrade your reasoning, pull you out of a tough spot, and sharpen your intellect, they also rewire your brain to make everyday life feel significantly heavier. The very tools you deliberately used to build this high-functioning intelligence come with a hidden and frankly exhausting psychological cost. Basically, you built a supercomputer, but now you have to live with it running 24/7. Which brings us to a major turning point, the specific burden of overthinking and the isolation that comes with it. Let's kick this off with metacognition, literally the act of thinking about your own thinking. It's the ability to step way back, question your own assumptions, actively ask, what if I'm totally wrong here, and work to reduce your own biases. It's an incredible tool because it effectively replaces your ego with a drive for accuracy. But there's definitely a dark side to this superpower. Because you are so hyper-aware of your own thought processes, your brain can incredibly easily get trapped in a relentless loop of constant, never-ending self-questioning. We call this the metacognitive trap, because your upgraded brain is now instantly processing a dozen variables at once in every single situation. You're constantly hunting for deeper meaning, spotting complex patterns, and doing the math on future consequences. And the result? A near complete inability to just switch your brain off. True rest becomes almost impossible because, in the background, your mind is relentlessly analyzing every possible variable. Your brain literally refuses to clock out. And this perfectly explains why, say, a casual social mixer can suddenly feel like an agonizing chore. It all comes down to something called cognitive pacing. That's the specific speed and the level of abstraction at which your brain naturally processes information. When you upgrade your mind, your cognitive pace speeds up. You think faster and your thoughts become way more abstract. Because of this purely mechanical shift, highly intelligent people frequently feel completely out of sync with their peers in normal conversations. Everyday small talk just feels agonizingly slow or terribly surface level. The absolute biggest takeaway I want you to get from this is that this social mismatch isn't arrogance, not at all. It's simply a difference in cognitive pacing. If you constantly feel like you're tapping your foot waiting for people to catch up to your point, or if you feel totally alone, even in a crowded room, I really want to validate that for you right now. It is a mechanical difference in mental speed. It is not a personal flaw. It doesn't mean you're antisocial, and it certainly doesn't mean you're broken. You are literally just operating on a different frequency. Think about how this plays out with pattern recognition. On one hand, it's a massive asset, right? It's exactly how you spot financial opportunities, understand what drives people, and build success from nothing. But simultaneously, it becomes a really heavy burden. Your heightened pattern recognition makes you hypersensitive to illogical behavior, weird contradictions, and broken systems. The exact same mental skill that helps you build a brilliant business creates intense daily frustration in regular workplaces or relationships that just don't make logical sense to you. And the unseen emotional toll of living like this is actually profound. First off, you experience genuine mental fatigue from routine tasks. I mean, your brain is starving for complex stimulation, so boredom literally exhausts you physically. Second, it becomes really hard to actually find that novel, challenging input in everyday life. And third, you go through this heightened, layered emotional processing. It's this fascinating battle of you versus your own brain, where you analyze your emotions so deeply and so thoroughly that you end up experiencing them with just an exhausting amount of depth. I really want to hit the nail on the head with this point. High intelligence creates emotional complexity, not emotional weakness. Feeling things deeply, getting intensely frustrated by inefficiencies, being mentally drained by surface-level interactions, these are not signs that you are emotionally fragile. They are the direct, scientifically backed results of having a highly analytical mind that's processing the world at a resolution most people will simply never experience. Which brings up a beautifully ironic concept called the intellectual humility effect. It's a psychological phenomenon where knowing more actually makes you hyper-aware of your own limitations. It's kind of the ultimate irony of intelligence. The smartest minds out there suffer from the most intense self-doubt precisely because they can clearly see exactly how much they don't know. While someone with lower intelligence might walk around blindly confident in their opinions, an elite mind is constantly, almost painfully aware of the vast ocean of missing information out there. So ultimately, yes, awareness absolutely upgrades your intelligence, but it also drastically increases the sheer weight of reality. There is a profound, almost invisible loneliness in having nuanced, layered thoughts all the time. When you see the world in high definition, with all the interconnected systems and the cascading consequences of every action, it becomes incredibly difficult to translate those thoughts into simple language that other people can actually digest. You can be surrounded by a room full of people, yet feel completely isolated by your own depth of understanding. Which brings us to a final provocative question to wrap up this explainer. Are your daily feelings of isolation, that social mismatch, and the constant overthinking actually just the hidden price of a brilliantly functioning mind? If the habits, the rewiring, and the struggles we talked about today resonated with you, I'd challenge you to completely reevaluate your daily mental friction. It might not be a flaw at all. It might just be the ultimate, undeniable proof of your cognitive growth. So think about that and keep expanding your mind.